How's it going, guys? I'm Jared and welcome back to Trash Classics. Now, I don't know about you, but when I hear the words PC exclusive role-playing game, I think of names like The Elder Scrolls, Baldur's Gate, or Diablo. While completely different from each other, these titans of the PC RPG genre all share one commonality: a base built exclusively from a Western-born Dungeons & Dragons mentality. And as most of you might already know, these games differ drastically from their Japanese brethren. Games like Final Fantasy, Chrono Trigger, and Grandia fall under the banner of the Japanese RPG. These two subgenres, despite being classified under the same general label, are almost unrecognizable from each other. And for a long time things would stay this way, until developer Valkyrie Studios decided this simply will not do. Released in October of 1999 and published by Monolith Productions, Septerra Core was an oddity. As a PC exclusive RPG that borrows elements from its Japanese counterparts, this game is one of a kind to say the least. In today's gaming culture, where even titles like Call of Duty have rudimentary RPG mechanics, there are plenty of Japanese-style role-playing games being produced for PCs, especially in the indie market. But as far as I know, Septerra Core was the first to make this innovation, and as such holds a special place in my memories. So with that being said, let's give it a look. In Septerra Core, the world is hollow and comprised of 7 layers, or shells, each of which is there to protect the core, which is a planetary computer that powers the world. Legend has it that every 100 years, the world's shells align perfectly, leaving the core open and accessible. Using 2 special keys, anyone who opens the core gains unimaginable power. Those that live on Shell 1, calling themselves the Chosen, have tasked themselves with protecting the core, but a member of their ranks named Daskius is hell-bent on receiving its power. You play as Maya, a junker from Shell 2 who was unwillingly thrown into this conflict while looking for revenge for the death of her family. The game's story is surprisingly well told and delivered at a satisfiable pace. This is one of those games that could fill a dictionary with all the names, races, events, and mechanics that you learn throughout.
Well, we only deal with Dugan and his officials now. Bowman is a leader of the Holy Guard up in Wind City, but if you deal with him, Dugan's likely to stop trading with you.
But unlike games like Final Fantasy 13, Septerra Core delivers all of this nonsense in small doses, so that you have time to digest it all. At no point did I feel lost or find myself struggling to remember major events. For a game this old, Septerra Core looks great, through the use of pre-rendered backgrounds, which I may have mentioned once or twice are my absolute favorite style of environments. Every location gets a good amount of personality and generally feels well designed. Character art looks like a cross between American and Japanese CGI renders, which I thought looked damn good for the time, and I also found the sprites look more natural when set up against the CG backgrounds. The Japanese influenced visual style was something really cool to see back in the day, and kind of became a calling card for the game's publisher, Monolith, who produced the cyberpunk mecha shooter Shogo a year prior. You can watch that review of the game right here. While Septerra's story and look may please any RPG fan, its fighting engine is where things get very specific. This game uses a turn-based active time system, and this may turn off most Western RPG gamers who tend to be more accustomed to their fights taking place in real time. Each character has an AT bar with 3 levels, and as you would expect, the higher the level, the stronger the attack. This adds a good amount of strategy to fights, as you gauge the importance of a rapid number of weak attacks versus a couple of strong ones. The only real problem with this is in the beginning of the game, when the magic attacks are scarce, and waiting so long in between commands can bring the pace of the fights down. These aren't the most action-packed fights you've ever played, but when your options start to open up, random battles become pretty fun and damn challenging. As you probably noticed by now, almost every line of text in the game is voice acted, but don't worry, it's actually pretty good.
Cool. The blood is eating up the grass like an acid. Wicked.
There's a pretty cool conversation system to be found here too. Not only can you learn of key events or people and bring them up in conversation, but you're also given the option to have specific party members talk, which will lead to different conversations and sometimes secrets or extra information. The only real problem I have with the game is its controls. Septerra is controlled almost primarily with the mouse. Every command in battle, every item used, every conversation, all initiated with your mouse. For the most part, this works out okay. I especially like the idea of an RPG that can be played entirely with one hand, but moving around in tight spaces can prove a little cumbersome. For the most part, environments are pretty open and lend themselves well to this kind of control scheme, but there will be times when you have to be precise, and this type of mouse control just doesn't cut it. But for an old RPG with such risky and unique design, only having one minor flaw in the game is pretty damn good if you ask me. When you really get down to it and strip away the insanely innovative features inspired more by Dragon Quest than Dungeons & Dragons, you'll find an incredibly charming RPG that puts you in a well-thought-out steampunk fantasy setting and tells an amazingly interesting story. While the game's graphics may not match up to some of today's best sellers, I would put it up against most role-playing games released in the last 5 years. I mean, for God's sakes, look at this. A fucking world map. Do Do you remember when RPGs had these? Seems like an eternity ago. Jesus, I'm getting old. Japanese role-playing veterans will no doubt love this American take on their favorite genre, and Western RPG fans may very well find enough familiar ground here to warrant a playthrough.
Yes, sir.
And if that weren't enough, it can be found for a mere $6 on Good Old Games. With a solid story, great gameplay, familiar yet innovative design, and a dirt cheap price, Septerra Core has leveled up to the rank of trashed classic. Hey guys, what's your favorite underrated RPG? Let me know in the comments, and if you like this video, check out my review of another classic RPG, Koudelka. And if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button to stay updated on my future content. And do you network socially? Well, you can find me on social networks like Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, so come check me out.